In this unit, probably the hardest thing that we're going to do is calculate surface area. Not that surface area is hard to calculate, but surface area involves being organized and being able to keep track of all your surfaces. So the first thing about keeping track of your surfaces is drawing a net. So I'm going to draw my net first. So I'm going to have my rectangular base. I've got a rectangular side on this side. I've got a rectangular side on this side. And each of these rectangular sides has a triangle rooftop associated with it. So I'm going to do that as well. So there's some congruent pieces here. So we don't have to, once we calculate the area of a couple of the pieces, we can figure out the area. We can assume the area of some other pieces. So I'm going to start with the rectangles. So I have 12 centimeters squared here. So that's my 4 by 3 base. My front, it's going to be 7 length here, so it's going to be 7 by 4, so it's going to be 28 centimeters squared here, and I know the opposite side is going to be the same. Okay, so again, the key here is to keep everything organized. So we know that those two sides are the same. Here we know that these two sides are the same as well. And this is going to be a length of 3, so this is going to be a little bit smaller surface that's going to be calculated here. Okay, so we've got all the 5 rectangular pieces. So I've done the easy parts first. I'm going to just make sure that I've kept track of that. And then I have 12 centimeters squared. Okay, so those are all the rectangular pieces. I'm just going to use color to help me out here. So I have 2 triangles, and they are 2 different triangles, so we have to be careful. And we have to figure out what is the surface of that. And we can't use the vertical height here. So we know that the vertical height is going to be 5 centimeters. But the vertical height is different than the length that we're going to use to calculate area. I need to use that diagonal length there. Okay, and I have 2 different ones, it looks like. Okay, so that diagonal length here, I'm going to do that triangle here. So it's basically, I'm going to draw it sideways first. I'm going to draw it from this side to be able to calculate this hypotenuse. So that length there is going to be key to finding the area of this triangle, because I have the triangular base. Okay, I see that I know the base is 4, so I have to find that height. Okay, it's called the slant height. So I'll call that L. That's going to be L here. And so I know from the side view that length is going to be 3 centimeters, but only half of it. And the height of it is going to be the height of that cone piece there. So it's going to be 5 centimeters height. And so I need to use Pythagoras then to find out the length of L. Okay, so I'm going to do 1.5 squared plus 5 squared, and then I need to square root that. Okay, so the length of L works out to be approximately 5.22. So I'm going to use 5.22 centimeters as my length. To then calculate the area of that triangle, okay, which I'm going to do this one here. Okay, so that's going to be 5.22 of length. Okay, it's going to be 4 centimeters of width. So the area here works out to be 10.44 centimeters squared. Okay, so I know that that's going to be matching 10.44 centimeters squared. So I'm just going to write that in. So 2 times 10.44 centimeters squared. Okay, so that gives me those 2 triangles. Then I need to do the same thing with these triangles here. Okay, so I need to then do the same thing, and I need to find that slant height. So I'm going to find that slant height, and I call L2. Okay, so that L2 is going to make a triangle. So I have to look at it from this direction here to get the slant edge of the L2. Maybe I'll draw it in the other way so it looks like it's a little bit easier to match up. Okay, so I'm looking at it from this direction, and I'm going to have a height here. It's going to be 2 centimeters of width, because that's going to be my width here. And then the height is going to be 5 centimeters. That's going to be the height of that, the vertical height here. And that will give, then, using Pythagoras, I'm going to get the slant height. So here I end up with square root 29, 5 squared plus 2 squared. That's approximately, when I put it in my calculator, about 5 point, I'm just going to write this out in blue. So this is my L2, and this is square root 29, which is approximately 5.385, so I'm going to round that to 39 centimeters. Okay, so that length there is 5.39. This width here is going to be 3 centimeters going in this direction. So 3 times that, 5.39 times 3 divided by 2, it's going to give me this area is going to be 8.085, so I'm going to round that to 0.9 centimeters squared. And so that's the area of this triangle, so I'm going to have 2 of those. Okay, so again, the key here is we have to organize our work. So the way I organize this is, first of all, draw your net. Okay, I've separated my areas into the 5 rectangular pieces. So I did that first. I worked out the area of the triangles here. So I need to make sure that's organized. Now the tricky part of finding the area of both of these triangles is that we can't use the height. We have to find this angled height. So I need to then look at it from the side here to be able to find this diagonal line using Pythagoras. And then for same thing here, the L2, I need to look at it from this direction. Okay, I need to look at it from this direction to find my vertical height, my horizontal length, and my diagonal length, which is what I'm going to use for this triangle. Okay, I found those lengths out, 5.22, 5.39, and then I can work out the areas of these 2 triangles. Make sure you account for you count the right number of those triangles, and we get all these pieces here. So at this point, I'm going to sum this all up. Okay, so I end up with 28 times 2, which is 56, plus 21 times 2, which is 42, okay, plus the 12. So the rectangular pieces all add up to 110. I'm just going to do this in parts. So that's equal to 110 centimeters squared. Okay. The red triangular parts is going to work out to be 20.88 centimeters squared. And then the 2 blue triangles are going to work out to be 16.18 centimeters squared. So when I add that all together, I get 147.06 centimeters squared. Okay, so there's my final answer. Again, this is quite involved because we have to organize our work. So each of these areas is actually quite straightforward, but we have to make sure that we keep track of all these different pieces.